this is Yami, your Latina next door, and I am back with another video. In this video, I am participating in the 2018 Summer DIY Floral Challenge hosted by Heidi and Lindsey from Domer Home. I'll make sure to include a link in the description box below so you can visit their channels, as well as a playlist with all the other YouTubers participating so you can get a lot more inspiration. Now, I know you've seen these Mason Jar Sconces all over Pinterest, but most of these pins that you see are to Etsy shops, not really tutorials. So I decided to go ahead and do them myself and share it with you for this challenge. Now, I was able to find all of these supplies for these sconces very inexpensively, especially those rustic hooks and those fairy lights. So stay tuned because I will talk about them a little bit more, and I will include links in the description box below so that you can get yours as well. Now, you can go to your local hardware store for the wood, but we actually had this laying around as scrap wood. It's 5.5 inches in width, and we cut them 12 inches in length. Now, after cutting them, I took them to my craft room and I started to sand those edges because they were pretty rough. I didn't want to get any splinters, and I wanted a nice clean look for my sconces. At first, I started using Minwax's Special Walnut Stain. However, after 2 coats, it was just still too light, so I had to reevaluate and get a darker stain. I opted for Minwax's Dark Walnut, and as you can see here, it was much darker and deeper, and I liked this much better. Here you can see the difference between the 2 boards. Now, since I like the coastal look, and I like the weathered grayish kind of wood, I decided to add another stain on top of the dark walnut to give it an aged gray feel. And I used Varathane's Weathered Gray stain that you can see right here. Then I used Debbie's Design Diaries white wax that I used in a couple of other tutorials, which I will go ahead and link to them as well, and it gave it a even more weathered look. Now, this is just what I'm doing because this is what I prefer, but you could have left it the lighter wood, you could have left it the darker wood stain, or done the same thing as well, depending on what your tastes are. Now, after applying this wax, you just remove any excess and then let cure. Then afterwards, I use Debbie's Design Diaries clear wax, and this is going to seal the wood. And basically, you just apply it with a wax brush, and you will see it will actually make the color richer. And what you do is you leave it overnight, and the following day you buff it. Now, in order to hang your mason jars, I just used this white cord that I had on hand. However, you can use twine for a little bit more rustic look, or you can even use these ready-made metal hangers that I will go ahead and link in the description box below if you would rather have a metal look. Now, I purchased this mason jar at my local Dollar Tree. It's a very simple one, and you can use it with or without the lid. You can also use the ones that actually have the writing on it if you want a more farmhouse rustic look. Now for the fairy lights. If you are lucky enough to get them at Dollar Tree for $1, snag them, because most of them actually come for $8 to $9 a strand. However, I was able to find them on Amazon for as low as $167 a piece, and I will make sure to link to that in the description box below. And finally, you will need some flowers. You can pick any color you want. I got these at Michael's on clearance. Now, I decided to go ahead and use the mason jar without the lid for my sconce, and I used the cord length to be 26.5 inches, and I used a fabric tape measure in order to get that measurement. Now, 26.5 inches gave me enough slack to go around the jar, go over the hook at the perfect length, and still have enough slack to tie knots at both ends. Now, you want to leave the first knot a little loose so that you can pull on the other side and run your cord through to make that knot. Afterwards, tying them both. And of course, if you have more than one of these sconces, you want to go ahead and double check and make sure that the ropes are the same length. Now it's time to attach the hooks onto the wood. Now, because I was working in my craft room, I had a scrap piece of wood underneath so that whenever I drill the holes inside, I would not go through and hit my table. Now, once I found my center, I placed the hook and used the actual screw to make an indentation to know where to drill. Now, you want to make an actual hole first so that when you decide to insert the screws, you do not split the wood in doing so. Then finally, you want to attach your hardware to hang the sconce on your wall. Now it's onto the flowers, and I just use 2 floral bushes from Michael's that I cut down into individual stems so that I can create my own smaller bushes. So once I decided what my bushes were going to look like, I just used a rubber band to hold them together. And then I used some burlap ribbon to cover that little rubber band up, and I just used hot glue to attach. Then I mounted the wood sconces onto the wall, added the mason jars, and everything came together perfectly. Now, if you like how these sconces turned out, please make sure to hit the like button below and subscribe so you can see more tutorials like this. And again, don't forget, those amazing hooks and those fairy lights are linked down below to where you can find them very inexpensively.